We up.
Good evening. Today is October 21st, 2020. This is a regular a workshop regular meeting. We thank you so very much for joining us. We're going to kick off and get started with our board meeting on this evening. We're going to ask Trustee Reeser, if you would please do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Certainly. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, thank you also very much for joining this meeting. We see that there's 11 participants directly online, and we know that there may be some others that are on through YouTube. So at this time, we're going to turn the meeting over, the workshop portion. As I said, this is, and just for clarity, I want to be extremely clear. So this is a two-part meeting. There's a workshop portion, which deals with work, presentations and that sort of thing. And then we're going to adjourn out of the workshop meeting, and we're going to go into a regular meeting because there will be board decisions, there will be voting that will take place. During the workshop meeting, it is our practice and by board policy not to do any voting or anything during that time. It is specifically for presentations. And so at this time, we're going to turn it over to our superintendent, Dr. Eric J. Rosser.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you very much for tuning in this afternoon or this evening. We have a couple things that we wanted to touch upon.
Dr. Rosser, is there a way that we can increase your volume, sir?
Let me attempt to see what may be going wrong. Can you hear me better now? Testing. Can you hear me better now? Okay, I'm not certain as to what's going on. So let me do this. Let me turn it over.
It's actually a little clearer, sir.
Okay, so let me just speak up a little bit. So we have a couple workshops topics that we're going to address this evening. We have the financial statement presentation made by our outside auditor, Mr. Victor Churchill. And then we also have a district finance update that would be made by myself and Mr. McDowell, who is the interim chief finance and business official. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Churchill so that he can then engage in providing the financial statement presentation. And while he's doing so, I'm going to try to figure out what's going on with my computer. Becky, I don't think that Mr. Churchill is on, is he?
You see him on.
Okay, so Mr. McDowell, we're going to work to do the district finance update until we can figure out what happened to Mr. Churchill.
No problem. So Becky, did you want to pull up the presentation, please? Thank you. So tonight, the board and Dr. Rosser asked for a quick update of our finances for the period of September 30th. It's not going to be a very deep or long conversation because unfortunately, we don't have a ton of things that occur in September. So we will have to unfortunately look into not look into anything, but just show you what we have and go from there. So if you can move to the next slide, please. So our agenda, we'll talk about the current revenues and expenses up to September 30th, our cash position, and then we will show you our draft budget calendar. And then if there's any discussion for the board, we would love to have that. So as you look at your expenditure for the year, it shows what Victor and his group will show later on, which is our revenues for 1920 ended at approximately $103,361,000, which is about $837,000 more than we predicted for the year compared to our expenses. This in short is was able to help us add money to our fund balance instead of actually decrease the $2.5 million that we thought we were going to, or 2.9 million actually, that we were thinking that we were going to have to take from our reserves. This is great news compared to what we expected. COVID did help, and I think some of the other measures we did also helped. Next slide, please. Cash position for the district at this particular time. A couple
I'm
things.
sorry, Mr. McDowell, I think it may be easier to just interject if you don't mind. Is that okay? More for the community than I think maybe for the board. So when you say COVID help, sir, can you explain what that means?
We did not have certain expenses that we normally would have, say transportation, the amount of subs that we normally would have, those types of expenses, because we did not have students in school. We did not have certain needs for certain things because we were not operating like we normally would function. So that allowed us to not have to spend monies on things that we normally would have to spend monies on because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Obviously, we're still living within that pandemic, and there are some efficiencies or things that we may not have to spend monies on, but we won't be able to determine what those look like this year for some period of time to come.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. So in regards to our cash position, three things that are highlighted here. Our revenue 2021, most of our revenues come from our taxes. And you can see the difference between this year and last year. It's practically double what we had received by this time last year compared to this year. And most of that is because our tax collection started literally at the end of August. This year, unfortunately, we had some issues in our tax collecting department, which have now been resolved, and we will collect all of the revenues, or no, not revenues, but all of the monies applicable to our tax levy, in due time. The good thing is, you can see our revenues were 18 million as of September 30th. And our expenses were 11 million. So cash-wise, we weren't in a position where we needed to worry about how we were going to meet payroll and things like that. But we are not in the position that we were in last year, where the delta was 24 million instead of 6.5 million. And again, 95% of our revenue comes between September and June. So you're going to start to see where our revenues will increase over the next few months in a steady progression, because the state will start to make payments to school districts starting in December, January, March, and May, June, and from there. So, but again, we are concerned because 20% of those aid payments are pending, and we have no idea yet what that means and what that will look like. We get $68 million from the state. That's $13.5 million that we have concerns about at this particular moment. In essence, that is it for the financial update. One thing I will say to the board and to the community, there isn't a ton that occurs in July and August in regards to our finances. We have expenses, but we don't have a ton of revenue. And then once the tax levy revenue starts to roll in, we're able to pay our bills and not have too many concerns. But the first couple months, we have limited income. We've been relying on the tax levy, and then state aid starts to kick in December, and that carries us to the end of the school year. So just to give everyone an idea of what cash flow looks like, and we will have another one of these updates next month, and you'll see the difference between what our tax revenue collected this year compared to last year. Any questions?
Colleagues, do you have any questions for Mr. McDowell? Dr. Rosser and Mr. McDowell, I do want to just say on behalf of the community that these monthly updates, I think, are great. It assists in the area of transparency and for the community to be aware of what's going on from a fiscal accountability perspective. And given that these meetings are recorded, so individuals that cannot plug into our meetings will have the opportunity during their own free time to go back and to listen to see what's going on. So thank you both so very much.
No problem. No problem at all. Becky, if you would you like to move to the budget calendar, please? Okay, so the budget calendar here, and this is a draft for our board and for our community and for everyone in the world of Poughkeepsie. What we would like to do is start giving everyone an idea of what types of things we would like to start bringing to the board on a consistent basis annually, so that you can have an idea of what the budget process looks like, what updates you will be receiving, and you can get an idea or familiarize yourself with what the process should look like. So when we get to January, you should already know that we're going to be analyzing the executive state budget proposal. That usually comes around the 20th of January. It's due by the 31st from the governor. And the last couple of years, he's been pretty good at that. You will know that in December, we will try to show you what the tax cap looks like and present like a 5-year update if we are able to produce that. It may not happen this year, but what we want to do is give you an idea what this calendar actually looks like, so that everyone knows what we're doing in finance. Because I think a lot of times people just think in finance we're hot and heavy at budget time. Well, budget time is a year-round job. It starts literally. I mean, we're going to have our auditor speak today, and guess what? We're presenting the plan for next year on the same day. So we are always in budget mode. We're always thinking about how we can save money or better utilize funds and resources. And this will give our board members and our community an idea of some of the expectations they can have and when you can expect that some of those deliverables will be. Becky, can you go to page 2, please? Thanks. And page 2 gets you really into the depth of the deliverables when we're talking about the property tax report card, budget adoption around April 7th. The second publication of legal notices, you have to have 4 of those. BOCES adopts their budget usually on the 4th Tuesday of every year. Then you have to give yourselves 2 weeks before the board a budget hearing on May 4th, because a budget vote is on May 18th. So it just gives you a better idea of what deliverables will happen and the things we have to deliver to the state, to our even our newspapers and our citizens, and just a detailed itemization of everything that we need. So now, are all of these dates etched in stone? No, they're not, but we will etch them as we get more information, as we get closer to meeting you others, learning how we do things in Poughkeepsie. So when should we have things to the newspaper so that they can mail them out? When should we have things out to our to the post office so they can get there within the 2-week period and things like that? So I think this gives everyone a really good idea of what deliverables we will have and what the process will look like, and we'll tweak this as we go so that we can all get a better understanding of what it looks like. So I just wanted to make sure we presented that today. I know Dr. Ross, as part of his plan and leadership, wants to make sure that there are no surprises for anyone. You have an expectation of what the deliverables will be, and we go from there. So I don't know, Dr. Rosser, if you wanted to add anything or if you have questions or thoughts.
No, I don't have anything to add in addition to this, but I will open it up to our board members to ask any questions that they may have based upon the presentation that you and I reviewed earlier today.
Court colleagues, any questions? Mr. Medell, thank you. Dr. Rodriguez, back over to you.
Okay, I know that we were trying to locate, oh, Mr.
Yes, he's
Churchill
back
is
on.
here. Yes, hello, Mr. Churchill. So, Becky, if you can bring back the Board of Education screen. So our next presentation is a presentation, our annual financial statement presentation that Mr. Churchill will be providing. Mr. Churchill, I'm going to turn the microphone over to you right now.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay. So we had an extensive meeting with the audit committee, and the full board presentation is a summarized version of that. This year's audit for the June 30th, 2020 year, the type of auditor's report is unmodified, which is a clean opinion. The district over the last 4 or 5 years has been working on several items that have been included in the report on compliance with laws and regulations and internal controls. And there's about 5 items in there. All of them are showing improvement from the prior years. Several of them are completely resolved. The other audit report that the auditor issues, required by the State Education Department, is an audit of the extra classroom activities. That's the clubs, that's the school district clubs, that's the senior class, junior class, whatever you might have, Spanish club. Some places have running clubs. I don't think you have a running club, but things of that nature. That report is a qualified report, but is qualified for what's considered to be the underlying controls under the original receipt of funds. And as you can recognize, that is something that can be very difficult when you have something like a bake sale. And there's always that question without certain controls in place. So that is the reason for that qualification in extra classroom. That qualification has existed in the district prior to us becoming auditors. I know the district wants to work on that as well. Most recently, by virtue of the discussion had at the audit committee meeting, and there are ways to address that I think are going to be given consideration. Perhaps in the 2021 year, that is up to the district, but that is qualified for that reason. Again, overall audit report is clean. The district has also had a management letter in the past, and the management letter is intended to be discussion of lower level things, not things that are considered findings related to internal control weaknesses or compliance with laws and regulations, and in some cases just best practice. There's about 7 items in there, and again, every one of those items has shown improvement in the current year. One of the more difficult areas, and there is at least 2 comments related to extra classroom. One of those is completely resolved. One of those is not resolved, but with the year just ended for 2019-20, it would have been difficult in normal circumstances to resolve some of those issues. But as soon as you went to virtual learning and the club's not meeting to any significance, if at all, it was difficult to get officer sign-offs on some documents. And that's an underlying control related to the extra classroom activities, is the officer sign-offs. So in summary, it's a clean audit opinion. There is a report on compliance with laws and regulations that is being worked on by the district that has only follow-up items from the prior year. There's a management letter that again only has follow-up items from the prior year. And most of those have shown over the last 3 or 4 years significant improvement and are getting close to resolved, and some of them have been completely resolved. And the extra classroom report, which is part of the overall audit, is qualified only because of the underlying controls under the original receipt of funds by each club. And I guess the other asterisk to that is, bear in mind that with every club, you do have a number of different players involved, and with every club, different officers. So that does add stress, if you will, to looking at those controls and training that information out, not just to the faculty advisors, but to the individual club officers, so that they can learn what is best practice in compliance with those controls. That is usually the primary areas that I cover in the overall board meeting. I do take the opportunity to ask the superintendent and business official and the audit committee members, in this case, it's the audit committee as a whole or the full board. Was there anything else from that presentation that you wanted brought forward to the full open board meeting this evening?
I don't have any additional things, Mr. Churchill, but I do want to thank you for your team's work in putting together an audit report that myself and my team will most certainly be looking to review and to making or continue to making the changes that we committed ourselves to making this past January. As I shared with the committee, the audit committee, as well as the community and the board members this past January, that we welcome audits. We welcome audits because audits provide us with a good understanding of those things that are the details that we need to be mindful of as a school district. And as I presented this past January, there's been a number of audit findings that we have to contend with as a school district. And it's good to hear that we are, working, or there's evidence that we're working to improve the systems and structures that we have in our business and our finance office. And, we will continue to engage in that continuous improvement work that will be necessary for the school district to be able to continue to operate in the support of children and families that are in our school district. So we thank you very much. Board members, do you have any questions of Mr. Churchill or Mr. McDowell?
Board colleagues, any questions?
No, thank you. We've had an excellent presentation in executive session. I think all our questions have been asked and answered in an intelligent and prudent manner, and we're going to move forward and make whatever additional changes we need to make.
Judge O'Neill, any further comments or questions from the board? Mr. Churchill, I would also like to thank you for the information presented during executive session and during our workshop meeting. It is refreshing and wonderful to hear that we are continuing to move in the right direction, and that this board takes its role and function of governance and finance very seriously. The leadership of Dr. Rosser and his staff, his team. We are very committed to ensuring that our community is aware of all that's going on around fiscal accountability, as well as ensuring that we meet all state and federal compliance. So thank you so very much, sir.
You're quite welcome.
Dr. Rosser, back to you.
At this time, board members, this concludes our topics and our presentation for our workshop. And I turn it back over to you, President Watson, for the motion to adjourn the workshop meeting.
That being said, is there a motion to adjourn out of the workshop meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All board colleagues, all in favor by the show of hands?
Aye.
Aye. Good, excellent. Motion carries by a majority. Is motion to, well, actually, we don't need the motion for this. We're just going to call our regular meeting to order. And we're going to continue with now our regular meeting again for our community. It's our practice now to try to hold a workshop meeting every month as well as a regular meeting every month. In this case, there's so much that's going on that we needed to vote for, voting items. And so we ended up combining this meeting. But under normal circumstances, we're really trying to hold the meeting separately. At this time, we're going to move to our consent agenda. Trustees, are there items to be pulled from the consent agenda? I know Trustee Long, you had an item to be pulled from the consent agenda. Is she still on? Okay. Other board colleagues, are there items to be pulled from the consent agenda?
No, ma'am.
I'm sorry, what'd you say? I couldn't unmute.
I'm sorry. Trustee Long, you are there. There was an item there's two items that you want to pull from the consent agenda, ma'am. Can you please state those items?
15.1 and 15.2.
Board colleagues, are there other items to be pulled from the consent agenda?
No, ma'am.
15.6.
Are there other items? Okay, there being,
Excuse me, Madam Board President, these are action items that they're pulling right now.
okay.
Oh,
So
I'm sorry. Yeah.
the action items cannot be pulled
Right.
from, they're not a part of the consent agenda. Thank you very much, Madam Board Clerk.
I apologize. I thought they were consent.
Yeah, my apologies.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda pending, given that there were no items pulled from the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion specific to the consent agenda, just in general? There being none, Madam Board Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Judge O'Neill,
Yes.
Dr. Reeser,
Yes.
Mrs. Martinez Ledford, Ms. Long,
Yes.
and Dr. Watson.
Yes, I believe Trustee Martinez Leffert, she unfortunately, because of her job, she was going to be in and out, so I'm not sure if she's on this call right now. I know that she was a part of executive session for a while.
She's on.
She is on, there she
Mhm.
is. Trustee Martinez Leffert, so we go back to her for her vote.
Mrs. Martinez Ledford? Yes.
So motion carries unanimously. That moves us to our board action items. Can a board member explain to the community what board action items are? Any board member?
Go ahead,
An
Andrew.
action,
Any board colleague? Okay, so board action items are items that are going to take place specifically by the board, resolutions that are going to take place. They're presented to the board, not through personnel, not through pupil personnel services, not through any other avenue. These are directly applicable and brought forth to the board. Sometimes they're personnel items, sometimes they're items that deal with, and as you can see some of them here, approval of audits, that's one here, and some of the others. So for our community, you see these various items here. Typically, they're not personnel items, but every now and then, so the reason they're the 15.1 and 15.2 are here is because the item was tabled. Under normal circumstances, this would not be a board action item. This would be under personnel. So I just want to make that clear as far as what board action items. Every now and then, I'll just throw that out there just for our community to have a clear understanding of what is occurring. All right, so 15.1, is there a motion to approve the agenda item 15.1?
So moved.
Second.
Given that it is a personnel item, it cannot be discussed on the floor. It was discussed in executive session. Madam Board Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Judge O'Neill,
Aye.
Dr. Reeser,
Yes.
Mrs. Martinez Ledford? Ms. Long,
no.
and Dr. Watson.
Yes, motion carries. It carries. Is there a motion to approve agenda item 15.2?
So moved.
Second.
Again, this is a personnel item, so by policy, cannot be discussed on the floor. So Madam Board Clerk, we're going to turn it right over to you.
Judge O'Neill,
Aye.
Dr. Reeser,
Yes.
Mrs. Martinez Ledford? Ms. Long,
Nope.
and Dr. Watson.
Yes, motion carries. Is there a motion to approve agenda item 15.3?
So moved.
Second.
Again, in this, if there is any questions or anything anyone has, it can be posed to the superintendent. Okay, there being none, Madam Board Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Judge O'Neill,
Aye.
Dr. Reeser,
Yes.
Mrs. Martinez Ledford. Ms. Long,
Yes.
and Dr. Watson.
Yes, motion unanimously carries. Is there a motion to approve agenda item 15.4?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion regarding the HVAC unit and what's being done?
No, just, I just want to express my appreciation for the clarity of this resolution. At the last meeting, there was a resolution on a similar issue, which I had some questions about, and it was pulled for reworking and improvement, and now it's back to us in this clear and improved form. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And thank you for pointing this out too. So, Madam Board Clerk, over to you.
Judge O'Neill,
Aye.
Dr. Reeser,
Yes.
Mrs. Martinez Ledford. Ms. Long.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Mrs. Martinez Ledford. Ms. Long, I'm sorry.
I said yes.
Okay, and Dr. Watson.
Yes, motion unanimously carries. Is there a motion to approve the agenda item 15.5?
So move.
Is there a second? Okay,
Second.
so this is the external audit report, which we heard this evening, both as the audit committee and with Mr. Churchill on the floor. So is there a motion to approve and accept the external audit report? Oh, we did that, right? We motioned and seconded already, right, Madam Board Clerk?
Yes, we did. We're now voting.
Any questions, any further comments regarding this? One of the things, is Mr. Maddow on the call still?
Of course I am.
Of course you are. El Jefe, for sure. So can you, for our community, the importance of this, can you break that down? Because sometimes there's an adage that says wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom, all you're getting, get understanding. One of the things that this board is really focused on when it comes to our community is to ensure, especially when it comes to fiscal accountability, because that's our fiduciary responsibility, is to help our audience understand some things. We don't want to just always do a drive-by, push through with some things. So can you just explain the importance of an external audit and the purpose of an external audit, sir?
Sure. The external audit, first of all, is New York State SED. Those are regulations that we have to follow. And when you're receiving state and federal monies, you are going to have an external audit. So it's something that every school district has, and it's something that we totally understand and expect to occur sometime in August, and it usually lasts about 60 days or so. The report is due to the state in October, hence why we're having this presentation and seeking approval for it tonight. And it goes through every aspect of of what we do. You know, our balance sheet, our income statement, our fixed assets, our debt, what we're doing in regards to capital, what we're doing with our health insurance and retirement, and even have our labor negotiations, what's happened with them. So it literally goes through any and every aspect of what we do financially. And what they're looking for is that we're safeguarding taxpayer assets, that we are doing what we're supposed to do to make sure that the monies that we're getting from our taxpayers, the $30 million and the $68 million that we're getting from the state, that we are safeguarding those monies and doing what's best for children and doing what we can to make this the best educational process of setting that our students in this community can have. So it's about a 80-page report, and it literally goes through any and everything that we do. It talks about some of the things last year that we didn't do as well, and have we remedy some of those situations. And I'm proud to say that, we are getting better and we're remedying most of them. We do have some things that we need to work on, and we're aware of all of those. And, we're going to sit down with our auditors and have very, very progressive conversations about how we can be better teammates, so that things that they come up with, we can be notified of earlier in the process, so that we can address them, and more importantly, so that we can just account for and better spend the monies that we have been so blessed to receive from the state and from our taxpayers. So this report is better than last year. Next year's report will be better than this year's. We have less issues this year compared to last year. Next year we'll have less than this year, because we're going to continue to get better, because our students, our community, and the people who are paying for this deserve that. So in a nutshell, that's pretty much what the audit is. And I'm proud to say that the district is getting better. We're in better financial position than we were last year. Now, some of that, unfortunately, because of a pandemic, but we're going to continue to work, and we will get better.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Let's see, let's move. So the audit report, Madam Board Clerk, did we vote on that yet?
Not yet.
Okay, so the motion went forward, correct? And it was second?
Yes. Yes,
Madam Board Clerk, can you do roll call vote, please?
sure. Judge O'Neill? Dr. Reeser?
Yes.
Dr. Reeser, you're on mute.
Yes. I'm unmuting. Did you not hear me? Yes?
Now, I thank you.
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
Mrs. Martinez Lefford? Ms. Long?
Yes.
Judge O'Neill?
Aye.
Mrs. Martinez Lefford? Dr. Watson?
Yes, motion carries. Is there a motion to approve agenda item 15.6?
So move.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Any questions for our superintendent specific to this or his staff?
Yes, we received information about the 485A exemption, what it is, some of the pros and cons of these tax exemptions, tax exemption opportunities provided by the state. So we got a lot of information about it last time. But what's come before the board tonight is revocation. I'm not necessarily opposed to that. I'm just curious to know the reasoning behind the resolution, and just a little more explanation for the reasoning for the resolution.
Thank you very much, and I'll tackle it, but I may ask Ms. Reed to also join me in responding to your question. So it was brought to the attention of the board at our last meeting that we have a decision that's been on the books since 2012. And as I shared with the board during the conversation that we engaged in at the last business meeting, that it may not be wise for us to continue to allow for something that was decided upon 8 years ago, almost close to a decade ago, definitely 8 years ago. And that it may require us as a board to have additional conversations with other entities around how we are as an organization, how we're going to provide tax exemptions moving forward. Understanding that these tax exemptions, have implications not only to the city school district, but also to the city as well as to other entities. It would behoove us as an organization to engage in conversations with these individuals. And what I have requested of the board was to consider and think about us pulling this and suspending it until such time that we can have those conversations and determine whether or not the 2012 decision is still applicable and beneficial to the city school district.
Dr. Reeser, is that sufficient in clarity?
Sure. I mean, if I understand it, it's a chance to rescind it and then start a conversation about whether we want to resume. One thing we learned last time is that a district can choose to be a participating district and change its mind. Right? You can enter into this program and enter out of it and deselect it. And after a deliberation. So it sounds as if this is a chance to learn more and see whether the district would still benefit from such an arrangement going forward. So, okay, thank you.
No problem, thank you.
And Dr. Rosser, I'll just add also for Dr. Reeser's benefit, and then also for anybody who maybe did not join us for the last board meeting, that one of the points that was made during the last board meeting about the 485A exemption is that once the door is opened for that exemption, it must be granted to all eligible applicants. So consistent with what Dr. Rosser just said about reevaluating and assessing the validity and benefit of that exemption for the district, this is, in our view, more of a pause that we would be putting in place, because if the exemption continues to be in effect, we wouldn't be able to evaluate applicants on a case-by-case basis. By having the exemption on the books, all applicants would have to be granted. So this, in essence, anyone who already has the exemption would continue to benefit from that exemption, but there would be a pause on any new applicants joining until Dr. Rosser and the board has done that assessment of its efficacy and value.
Thank you, Attorney Reed.
Great. Thank you.
Dr. Rosser for the information. Madam Board Clerk, just for clarity, I want to make sure. So we motioned, we second, and now we just need to go to a roll call vote, please.
Yes. Judge O'Neill,
Aye.
Dr. Reeser,
Yes.
Mrs. Martinez Lefford. Ms. Long
No.
and Dr. Watson.
Yes, motion carries. Is there a motion to approve resolution? Now, this is a big one. There's great excitement this evening. Great excitement for this.
All right, I'm going to refresh this one.
Excitement. Poughkeepsie, you really showed up and showed out. So for resolution, agenda item 15.7.
Woo! Oh, sorry.
Yes, it is exciting. Let me put a little heart in the reactions. Because the lives of our district is taking on a new form, and we're super excited. So Dr. Rosser, actually, well, first of all, let me put the motion on the table. Motion, and then we get the second, and then we can have a conversation about this. Who wants to put the motion out there? Is there a motion to approve this resolution 15.7?
So move.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, beautiful. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. Yes, this is super exciting. Ah, yes, good news, good news. Dr. Rosser, why don't you kick this off, and then we want to hear from some of your colleagues, board members. Let's talk about this.
Well, I can speak for days about how monumental this is for our children who are currently attending school, as well as children who will be attending school for generations to come. You know, what the community did yesterday was to provide the Poughkeepsie City School District authorization to be able to transition our district into 21st century learning environments.
Dr. Rosser, can you just, excuse me, sir, I'm sorry. Can you speak a little closer to your microphone so that you're—
I'm having challenges, and my microphone is embedded into my computer. And
Can you speak up, sir?
okay, so I'm going to keep my comments and my statements brief then, because I'm not certain as to who can hear me and what can be heard. So
You're doing good.
What was that?
We can hear you.
Okay, as I was stating, that this is a great opportunity for the school district to be able to create a 21st century learning environment for our children who are currently attending our schools, as well as generations of children who will be attending the Poughkeepsie City School District in years to come. I wholeheartedly appreciate the hard work of various members of our community, various members of the team that I have on board now, as well as the members of the Capital Facilities Committee, who have really drove this work up until the point where it was ready to bake, to bring out the oven and serve to our community. Our community turned out, as you can see, through the favorable votes for both Proposition 1 and 2. And we're just very much excited about this work. This, is a big milestone for the Poughkeepsie City School District to achieve. And I will share with you that we could not have achieved this without the support of many entities, including those individuals who voted in favor of both Proposition 1 and 2.
Is that it, sir, from you?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, you just dropped the mic. Okay, I would like to hear from Mr. McDowell. Please, sir, if that's okay, Dr. Rosser.
Almost certainly. Mr. McDowell loves to talk, so we need to put a time limit on him speaking.
Are you serious? Are you serious? No, I'm excited for the Poughkeepsie students and the residents, because I don't want to say it's long overdue, because that means we missed something. I want to concentrate on what we're going to do, which is we're going to renovate schools and give all these schools a look that our neighbors 4 miles from here have, our neighbors in New Paltz and all these other locations have. Can't wait to get the process started. We're going to do our best to have these roofs secure in the spring and get after this project. This is going to change what your district looks like over the next 7 to 8 years. So I would ask the community to be very patient, because we're going to be moving kids. You're going to be renovating places and locations when people are going to be in them sometimes. So it's going to take a lot of grace and a lot of patience. But the most important thing is that this is very exciting, and I'm very excited for everyone here. So that's all I have for now, and I hope I was under a minute, Dr. Rosser.
Thank you very much, Mr. McDowell. The department that
you mentioned that 9 years or something, correct, sir, approximately?
Yeah, it's going to be 8 to 9. It's going to be literally, we're not going to finish these buildings till 2027, 2028. And may even go into 2029, because phase 2 literally won't start until 2024, 25, because there's so much planning to do, and there's so much work to be done in Prop 1 before you get to Prop 2. If you've been in our buildings recently, you know some of the wear and tear that they've sustained over the last years, and there's a lot of infrastructure work to get done before you get to the cosmetic work. So you get a lot of infrastructure work done in Prop 1, which won't look pretty, but it's going to build up your infrastructure, and then Prop 2 will be the pretty stuff that people want to see.
Excellent, sir. Thank you. Can you tell us, Dr. Rosser, is CPL or Palumbo on the Zoom meeting?
Can you repeat the question, Dr.
Is CPL or Palumbo on the Zoom meeting?
I am not certain. I am not.
No,
certain
they are not.
They're
Becky,
currently on.
Madam Board Clerk is shaking her head. I just wanted to if they were on, to give them the opportunity to speak in support of it. I see that Mr. Mott is here, so that's exciting. Now, board colleagues, any board colleagues have any comments specific to this agenda item?
Yeah, am I on? Am I
Yes,
unmuted?
sir.
Okay. This monumental vote for the school district took place in large part because, for the first time in a long time, the city administration joined forces with the superintendent and this board and championed the need and the importance of voting for these propositions. That hasn't always happened. It hasn't happened in a while. For an elected politician, or politicians plural, to come forward and advocate for a tax or additional taxes in these financial times took a lot of guts and a lot of heart and a lot of belief and love for this community. So that coalition needs to continue. And those in city government who did not join the coalition, hopefully will see and understand the benefit and the need and the extreme importance of supporting this district in everything that we do, but most importantly, with respect to try to upgrade the infrastructures which have been allowed to fall into significant disrepair for many years.
Thank you, Judge O'Neill. Well said. Other trustees? There being none. So I would just like to say in sync with Trustee O'Neill, yeah, this has been a long time in the makings, and we are super excited about this. We commend our citizens of this city for those who voted in support of Proposition 1 or 2. Thank you so very much. Dr. Rosser, one of the things I would like for you to do, sir, if you don't mind, can you speak to the process one? And then I know there were some glitches. Can we speak to that? Because one of the things that this board is very transparent. We don't do any okey doke. We ain't trying to fake the funk. We put it out there, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so, sir, can you just speak to, first of all, the process around this? And then two, there were some glitches yesterday. If you can just speak to those, sir.
Yeah, so the process around us bringing forward these propositions has been a process that's been in place since early this year. When I say early this year, I'm really speaking about pre-COVID. The team had come together. We had been working to really put together, these two referendums to share with our community. We were to the point where we have provided, public presentations to the board as well as the community about our intent with bringing these referendums or these propositions to the table. And then all of a sudden, of course, the entire world got hit with COVID-19. We made a conscious decision at that point in time to sort of pause and to sort of evaluate the landscape as COVID-19, of course, was changing the landscape before our very eyes. As we continue to have conversations, we decided that we would look to see whether or not there would be an opportune time in the fall to be able to bring these propositions forward. It was important for us to do so because as we presented to the community, and for those of us who walk in our schools every day, for those parents who have children in our schools every day, for those staff members who work diligently in our schools every day, they could see, and we could see, that there were some critical infrastructure issues that needed to be addressed immediately. So as we, the team of consultants, expert consultants, myself, Mr. McDowell, Mr. Hogan, Board Member Long, as we continue to have conversations around the need to put this proposition or this project forward, we found it to be critically important to put this proposition forward yesterday, in which we worked diligently over the past month to get additional information out in the community. Under the leadership of Natasha Cherry, she led a group of individuals who were door knocking, who were going from home to home, leaving information for people, having conversations with people about the importance of this project. In fact, after one of our meetings a few weeks ago, I returned home and found that someone had left notification of some information about the importance of this project on my door. So I was appreciated that the fact that our team was really, spread far and wide with getting information out there. We also, took a lot of time to make sure that, through my superintendent briefs, through each of the building principals, fireside chats, that the information was being articulated about what this project would mean and what it would do for our school district. Of course, the board, as well as the district, sent out mailers to the homes of every resident here in the city of Poughkeepsie to help inform them about this project. Myself and the mayor, and what Judge O'Neill was speaking to, was myself and the mayor came together and we put together a very short, 1-minute video packed full of a lot of information about the importance of people becoming more educated about this proposition or this project. We also, created a website which still exists that is chock full of information. So we put forth a lot of effort to really get the information out to our community. We felt that this was a better time to sort of present it to our community. And while there has been some concerns around and questions around, why so close to the presidential election, and I will share with you that, this work that has been approved should have happened and should have been taken care of years ago. And when we talk about the safety, the welfare of our children, of our staff members who are in these buildings every day, and the quality of the educational environment for our children, then I will say that every day, regardless of what's happening in the world, regardless of what's happening in our individual lives, regardless of what's happening here locally, every day is the most opportune day to present something to our community, to have them choose whether or not they're going to support it, to support our children and their future, particularly here in the Poughkeepsie City School District. Yesterday, there were a number of just social media comments that were off base, as it relates to, how we were providing opportunity for the public to provide, their vote for the proposition, be it negative or be it for. And there was just misinformation that was floating through, such as the school district didn't have security or safety monitors in each of the sites, that individuals didn't have an opportunity to sort of have privacy and when they were voting. And I will share with everyone that we had security in each of our sites. They were the ones who were sort of taking the temperatures of individuals and making sure that we were abiding by Department of Health regulations when it comes to anyone entering into our public schools. Those were the individuals who were actually security monitors. In addition to that, understanding that we were practicing social distancing, we made sure that every table that individuals could vote at were 6 feet apart. So while we did not have any sort of partitions where people can sort of work behind a partition and casting their vote, they were 6 feet apart from anyone else who was voting at the time. So, we addressed those issues, and I know that for some individuals, those issues were real issues, and we apologize, if we did not meet your standard for providing a safe environment as it is regulated by the Department of Health. We did everything that we were supposed to do under those regulations. But if you feel as if we didn't provide, you with the privacy and a safe environment, your comments are a lesson learned for us to be able to address those challenges in future years.
And Dr. Rosser, can you speak to the voting machines?
The voting machines, oh, okay, yeah. There was also a comment as to why are people using paper and pencil? Please note that because there is a presidential election, those voting machines are not owned by the city school district. They are owned by and I want to call it the Department of Vote, but that's not what it's called, the Department of Elections.
Board of Elections.
Board of Elections, thank you. And they have to calibrate those machines and make sure that those machines are operable to be able to handle the presidential election vote. So therefore, we were not able as a school district to obtain machines to be able to use them for our process.
Thank you, sir. Madam Board Clerk, so is it the Board of Elections that owns them, or do they outsource them? I'm not 100% sure, so I want to be clear. I like to be 100% accurate in anything that is said, so that we don't have.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Okay. I believe they do own them. We
Okay.
usually rent them from them. And due to the general elections, we were not able to use them this year.
Okay, thank you, Madam Board Clerk. So again, thank you so very much to our amazing community for standing with us in this, and actually the numbers were extremely high. I know that I think over 1,000. Madam Board Clerk, how many do we have the data? Let's see.
We have it here.
What do we have? There were over 1,000 individuals.
Over 1,000 individuals.
And I mean, given that there's 14,000 people registered, however, that's still a very high number for this. Madam Board Clerk, how many, what was the final number?
The final yeses?
No, the final number of voters who did come out, whether they voted yes or no, because we value everyone, even those who voted no, we value them also.
135.
1,000?
1,035, I'm sorry.
1,035, thank you, ma'am.
Mhm.
Okay, Madam Board Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Okay, Judge O'Neill,
Aye.
Dr. Reeser,
He
Mrs.
stepped
Martinez?
away,
Yes.
he stepped away, he put it in the chat box.
Yes. Mrs. Martinez Lefford,
Yes.
Ms.
Yes.
Long,
Yes.
and Dr. Watson.
Yes, however, I would like to add, I neglected to say this, that our, the board liaison for the capital improvement project was Trustee Long. So thank her for her fine work with this process. And thank you to the other board members also who supported this. Thank you to CPL, to Palumbo, to Mr. McDowell, to Mr. Hogan, because they helped us to see that this could be done. No one would have thought this could have been done. And one, not just because of the pandemic, but even this thing coming to fruition. So thank you also very much for your fine work. And of course, Dr. Rosser, under your leadership, you've been a superintendent 1 year. And the fact that that this was pulled off is just, it's truly amazing and truly a testament to where this district is going under your leadership. So thank you.
Well, as I mentioned
Amen.
previously,
Go
that
to
this,
board comments, if there are any. We're going to start with you, Dr. Rosser, not board comments. We're going to start with you, Dr. Rosser, superintendent, and then we're going to move to the board in this order. Judge O'Neill, Trustee Martinez Lefford, Trustee Long, and then I'll say my whatever.
okay, so as I mentioned, this has been a fabulous opportunity to serve as superintendent of the Poughkeepsie City Schools. Yesterday, as we have acknowledged, our community stepped up and sort of shared with us what they feel to be a positive occurring for our children, which is of course the revisioning and the strengthening of our infrastructure, where we'll be able to provide a higher quality of education for our children. So I do want to thank the public for your participation and your involvement from the beginning all the way into the culmination, which was yesterday's vote. I also want to acknowledge that this week, October 19th through October 23rd, is Board of Education Appreciation Week. So I want to sort of, share with my board that I appreciate you wholeheartedly and everything that you do as volunteers to help support the city school district and provide the guidance through your role as board members to the city school district. So I want to thank you for every day support our children, our community, as well as our staff. I also want to sort of take some time real quick to acknowledge a group of individuals who have been dedicated to the Poughkeepsie City School District for now over 4 years. We did not get an opportunity to sort of recognize them at their 4-year mark, but I did want to acknowledge them through tonight's meeting by stating their names and sort of thanking them for their commitment to the Poughkeepsie City School District, as well as the work that we're engaged in to provide students with greater opportunity and access to be able to attain the success that we all know that they are warranted. So I want to start off by, and I'm just going to say the names, and then we can all sort of join in and sort of clapping to sort of thank these individuals for their service. Miss Samantha Mitchell, Mr. Mark Cleese, Miss Lene Dean, Miss Nazarma Foster, Miss Stacy Lee, Mr. Anthony Panissa, Miss Allison Visitori, Miss Younglang Song, Miss Tiffany Slifko, Miss Tracy Ann Anderson, Miss Tamika Riley, and last and not least, Miss Donna Roman. So I want to thank each of you for your commitment and your longevity in the Poughkeepsie City School District, all that you have done to date and all that you will do in the future with serving the needs of our children and our families. As educators, we have a remarkable obligation to be able to help lead and frame what the future of our country and our local community is going to look like. And I want to thank you for your dedication in working in the Poughkeepsie City School District to meet the needs of our children and our families. So thank you very much. We look forward to continuing to add to your longevity here in the Poughkeepsie City School District. Under the leadership of Mr. Mott and our building principals, we will most certainly be catering to your needs and making sure that each and every day that you're working directly with our students, that you are the most impactful in what you can do to meet their individual as well as their collective needs. As we all know, that students, regardless of what school district, be in the urban, suburban, rural school district, that our children's needs here in the 21st century are ever evolving. They're extremely different than the needs that we had when we were younger. And I applaud each of you for choosing the profession of education to be able to display your talents as an educator and to be able to influence the lives of others through education. So I thank you very much for your commitment to children here in the city of Poughkeepsie. Also want to sort of thank, various community members and community organizations for really stepping up over these last several months to provide students with great opportunity to receive added support by way of school supplies. This past week, we received a very big contribution from Staples. And let me sort of share a little bit about the contribution. The contribution was by way of school supplies by students. And unbeknownst to myself and other district leadership, we did not know that Staples was asking individuals, customers, to sort of make donations to various school districts. And what we learned was that many individuals who had gone to Staples to purchase, office supplies, school supplies, whatever, were also donating funds to support the Poughkeepsie City School District. From what the staff shared with me, and I haven't had an opportunity to travel down into one of the offices where these supplies are being organized for 4th and 5th graders, but what they shared with me was that there was, as my grandmother would say, a boatload of supplies that far outpassed any other school district in the area. So I do need to thank the leadership of Staples. I do need to thank those who have shopped at Staples and who have donated to this cause. You know, our Poughkeepsie City School District students will most certainly benefit from your contribution and your warm hearts. So I want to thank you very much. Also want to sort of acknowledge Lehman Loeb, who has also organized opportunities for the donation of art supplies. And under the leadership of our wonderful art teacher, Heather Duncan Carter at the high school, we've been able to provide opportunity for students to pick up art packs, for students to be able to engage in a number of different artistic things outside of the school environment. I will be providing additional recognition to other groups. The team are constantly bringing me information about how other groups are stepping up and support and willing to be supportive of our children here in the Poughkeepsie City School District. So during my next public comments, next board meeting, I will be sharing additional community entities that have supported our cause. That concludes my comments, Board President.
Thank you, sir. Trustee Martinez-Leffert.
I just wanted to say I'm super excited for all the positive news that is, occurring in the city of Poughkeepsie School District. And I just want to congratulate you, Dr. Rosser, and your team and the school district on the props, both 1 and 2 passing. It is super exciting time for, all these positive changes, and I'm glad to be a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee. Trustee Long, Vice
I have
President.
no comments.
Okay, so I want to close out. There's 2 things I want to, let's see if I can pull them up just real quickly. So there's two quotes. One, I don't know who to give credit for, but it says, when we learn how to work together versus against each other, things will start getting better. And then Henry Ford said, coming together is a beginning, keeping together is progress, working together is success. Thank you, Dr. Rosser. Thank you, team. Thank you, community. You are the best of the best. Thank you, board colleagues. Is there a motion to adjourn out of this meeting on October 21st, 2020?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm assuming there are none opposed. Everyone get home safely. Thanks so
Thanks,
very
Kate.
much for plugging into our meeting on this evening, the workshop regular meeting. And again, thank you very much to our wonderful, wonderful, wonderful community. Take care, everyone. Be safe. Ciao. Okay, it's on.